Most men chase, beg, and negotiate for a woman's attention, and in doing so, strip themselves of all power. In this video, we will correct that mistake, because if you want a woman to pursue you endlessly, you must learn the psychology of desire as Machiavelli understood it. Desire is not won by effort, but engineered through mystery, control, and strategic scarcity. History has never favored the desperate. Kingdoms fall not from weakness of armies, but from weakness of character. And in matters of love, the same laws of power rule as in the courts of princes. A woman does not chase the man who offers himself freely. She chases the man whose value appears rare, whose intentions remain unreadable, and whose presence feels like a privilege granted, not a right earned. Tonight, we explore the hidden architecture of pursuit, not the childish games of modern romance, but the quiet, strategic forces that make a woman invest, commit, and crave your approval more than any other. If you desire to be the one she pursues endlessly, then you must understand the cruel but necessary mechanics of influence. If you wish for a woman to chase you endlessly, understand this first principle of power. The one who controls the environment controls the outcome. Yet most men wander into the battlefield of attraction as tourists, not strategists. They give the woman the terrain, the timing, the rhythm, and then wonder why the war is lost before the first arrow is drawn. You must ask yourself something uncomfortable. When she interacts with you, whose world is she stepping into, hers or yours? For centuries, rulers have shaped their encounters with others to tilt the balance of influence. Courts were arranged deliberately, lighting chosen carefully, entrances designed to inspire awe or intimidation. Even the great Lorenzo de' Medici ensured that visitors felt small the moment they crossed the palace threshold. Not a single conversation began until the psychological frame was already fixed. This is not merely history. It is human nature. When a woman enters your sphere, she must feel she is entering a realm governed by your standards, your expectations, your internal laws. Not because you demand obedience, but because your self-possession creates a gravitational pull that quietly dictates the term. Think of the opposite. Think of the man who rushes to reply, rearranges his plans instantly, asks her what she wants to do, where she wants to go, how she wants the day to unfold. He may believe he is being polite, but in reality, he is signaling one fatal truth. You define the arena. I will simply react. Nothing kills desire faster. Why? Because desire thrives where structure is firm, where direction is present, and where energy flows towards strength, not softness. Psychologists call this frame dominance. Whoever holds the frame directs the emotional momentum of the interaction, and people instinctively lean toward the stronger frame because it provides certainty, meaning, and direction. A woman, even a strong one, chases the man who gives her something to lean into. Not because she is weak, because she is human. Consider a simple example. A man asks a woman on a date. She replies, maybe. I'll see. If he says, okay, let me know, he has lost. He accepts her frame of uncertainty. But if he answers, I don't wait on maybes. If Thursday works, good. If not, we'll try another week. He instantly regains the terrain. He's neither begged nor submitted, only reaffirmed the boundaries of his world. The second response does something subtle yet powerful. It forces her to adjust to him. That adjustment, tiny as it may appear, is the seed of pursuit. Because the one who adapts is the one who values more, understands something deeper. Controlling the arena is not about domination. It is about setting a psychological architecture in which attraction can grow without collapsing into chaos or insecurity. When you define the rhythm, you prevent emotional volatility. When you define the pace, you prevent premature attachment. When you define the tone, you prevent misinterpretation. The arena is not physical, it is internal. Your demeanor, your presence, your pacing, your standards, your emotional steadiness, your willingness to walk away without theatrics. These form the invisible kingdom she steps into whenever she interacts with you. If you lack these, she senses it immediately, even if she cannot explain why. Women are extraordinarily attuned to power vacuums, not because of manipulation, but because throughout history their survival depended on identifying strength quickly. So ask yourself another question. When she speaks, do you rush to fill every silence? When she hesitates, do you soften your stance? When she withdraws, do you chase? Every time you adjust out of fear, you surrender the arena. Every time you respond from inner security, you expand it. And here is the paradox. The man who seems the least affected becomes the man who affects her the most. Because emotional independence is not coldness, it is authority over self. And authority over self creates authority over the interaction. Imagine this. She texts you with a passive, half-interested message. Instead of leaping toward it, you respond when it suits your rhythm, with clarity instead of neediness. She feels the difference. She senses the absence of desperation. She senses a man anchored in his own life. And that anchor becomes the magnet. Control the arena not by force, but by being the steady center she must orbit if she wants access to your world. And once you learn this, you will notice something fascinating. The moment she adjusts to you, she has already begun the chase. But controlling the arena is only the first step, because next, you must learn how to manipulate something even more powerful than structure. Desire grows not from abundance, but from scarcity. And scarcity is the oldest weapon in the arsenal of power. But few men wield it with discipline. They speak of wanting to be pursued, yet they offer themselves like common goods on an open market. You must ask yourself a brutal question. How can a woman hunger for what is always within reach? Throughout history, rulers have mastered the art of withholding. They revealed little, granted less, and offered access only to those who proved themselves useful. Even emperors understood that value dissolves when presence becomes excessive. Consider the courts of medieval Europe, where nobles begged for moments with the sovereign, not because the ruler was extraordinary, but because the ruler was unavailable. Scarcity shapes perception. When something appears limited, the human mind assigns it elevated worth. Psychologists call this the scarcity bias, yet long before it had a name, it ruled kingdoms, forged alliances, and ignited wars. And today it still governs attraction, though few admit it. Ask yourself this: when you respond instantly, rearrange plans, and make yourself perpetually accessible, what message do you send? You tell her, without speaking, that you have nothing else happening in your world. And people rarely chase what stands idle. Scarcity does not mean silence or cruelty. It means intentionality. It means you reveal your time, attention, and presence with purpose instead of impulse. Think of a man who texts sporadically because he is genuinely building his life. His scarcity is natural, not fabricated, and that authenticity creates pull. But the man who answers immediately, even when bored, signals a different truth. He does not choose, he reacts. He does not decide, he complies. And the one who complies can never inspire pursuit. History offers endless lessons. When generals wanted enemy scouts to overestimate their strength, they hid their weaknesses and revealed only fragments. When merchants wanted to raise the value of goods, they limited supply. And when advisors wished to sway princes, they withheld counsel until the ruler begged for it. Scarcity builds desire because it creates uncertainty. Uncertainty produces tension, and tension drives emotional investment. A woman will think of you more in your absence than she ever will in your constant presence. Imagine this scenario. A woman messages you casually, testing your availability. If you respond instantly, she learns she can summon you at will. But if you respond on your time calmly without apology, she senses a man guided by his own rhythm. That rhythm becomes magnetic. Scarcity also sharpens curiosity. When she wonders where you are, what you're doing, and why you are not in her orbit, her mind turns you into a puzzle worth solving. And puzzles generate pursuit. But hear this warning. If scarcity becomes manipulation rather than principle, it collapses. If you withdraw simply to provoke reaction, your weakness will reveal itself. True scarcity comes from fullness of life, not games. You must cultivate interests, ambitions, challenges, and alliances beyond her. When your time has weight, she feels it. When your presence has meaning, she values it. And when she senses that your world does not revolve around her, she seeks a place within it. This is the paradox of desire. The less you need her attention, the more she desires your approval. The less you reveal, the more she imagines, and imagination is stronger than reality. So ask yourself again, do you offer abundance, or do you offer value? Are you available, or are you chosen? Do you chase, or do you inspire the chase? Strategic scarcity is not the absence of attention. It is the placement of attention where it cultivates desire instead of extinguishing it. It is the difference between being taken for granted and being pursued. But scarcity alone is not enough. Once desire begins forming, you must learn to twist it, heighten it, and shape it into something far more powerful, a deeper pull. And that is where the next principle enters, a force that alters emotions more profoundly than scarcity ever could. Emotional asymmetry is the quiet engine of pursuit, the invisible imbalance that turns a woman's curiosity into longing and her longing into action. Yet most men destroy this imbalance before it even forms. They reveal too much, too soon, and too honestly. believing transparency creates connection. But connection is not built on disclosure, it is built on tension. You must ask yourself, when she speaks to you, does she feel the thrill of uncertainty or the dull comfort of knowing exactly where she stands? The first creates desire. The second kills it. Throughout history, leaders wielded emotional asymmetry to command loyalty. Princes rarely revealed their true intentions. Generals hid their strategies behind silence. Advisors spoke in riddles, forcing others to interpret, guess, and attach meaning to every gesture. People invest more deeply when clarity is scarce, and a woman invests most when she feels slightly off balance, never threatened, only intrigued. Consider the early courts of Florence. Diplomats rarely answered questions directly. Instead, they shaped their replies to provoke reflection, doubt, even fascination. Their ambiguity was not deception, it was influence. By controlling what others knew and what they did not, they directed emotions without lifting a finger. You must learn the same art. Imagine this. A woman asks where the two of you stand. Most men rush to reassure, afraid to lose what they barely have. But the strategic man responds with calm ambiguity. Let's see where this goes. Not dismissive, not committed, balanced perfectly between possibility and distance. That uncertainty makes her lean forward. She begins filling in the gaps with imagination, and imagination is more powerful than anything you could declare. Emotional asymmetry also emerges in your rhythm. When you are consistent in your values but unpredictable in your timing, she pays closer attention. When you remain warm yet impossible to categorize, she tries harder to understand you. And in that effort, she invests. The human mind values what it works for. Do you see the pattern? When she cannot fully read you, she becomes more attentive. When she cannot predict you, she becomes more curious. And curiosity is the root of attraction. Think of real life. A man who expresses interest instantly is safe, obvious, forgettable. But a man who offers subtle signals, an unexpected compliment paired with a calm withdrawal, creates an emotional echo she keeps replaying. She wonders what he meant. She reinterprets his tone. She revisits the moment. And each revisit deepens her attachment. This is emotional asymmetry, the art of giving enough to spark desire, but never enough to satisfy it. Even small actions matter. If she jokes flirtatiously, respond with a smirk instead of an eager declaration. If she challenges you, meet her challenge with composed confidence, not defensive energy. If she pulls away, let her. Often your silence will speak louder than pursuit. Remember this truth. The person who feels more emotion invests more energy. The one who remains composed becomes the anchor, and the anchor becomes the prize. But asymmetry must never become cruelty. You do not manipulate through pain, but through depth. You are not cold, you are unreadable. You are not dismissive, you are selective. You show interest, but not obedience. Presence, but not dependence. Through this balance, you become the figure she cannot quite interpret, the one whose intentions remain slightly obscured. And mystery is a force stronger than beauty, status, or charm. Mystery makes the mind work overtime. Mystery turns simple attraction into persistent pursuit. Ask yourself now, are you her open book or her unsolved riddle? Does she feel secure in your emotions, or does she lean forward trying to decode them? Only one of these paths leads to being chased. Emotional asymmetry is the spark, but the next principle is the fire. It is the force that transforms curiosity into commitment, and sometimes into obsession. And as you refine this art, you will notice an even stranger phenomenon. The more she feels drawn into you, emotional gravity, the more she will seek to secure your attention before it drifts beyond her reach. This shift marks the beginning of a deeper pursuit, one rooted not in fleeting attraction, but in psychological necessity, a force far stronger than desire alone. Remember this always. You stand at the edge of a truth most people spend their lives avoiding. Desire is rarely confessed. It is revealed. And it is revealed not through words, but through fractures, small, deliberate openings in a person's guarded presentation. Today, you will learn to see those openings long before anyone dares to name them. Consider the courts of Renaissance Italy, where alliances were built, not with declarations, but with glances, gestures, shifts of tone. Power moved in silence. The wise learned to read not what people said, but what they permitted you to notice, and desire, whether for influence, approval, or affection, always leaked through the cracks. You have experienced this yourself. Someone insists they are indifferent, yet their attention returns to you with suspicious consistency. Their body angles closer. Their voice softens when it shouldn't. You know these moments matter, but you dismiss them. Why? Because you've been conditioned to wait for certainty, for explicit confession. But strategy never waits for certainty. Strategy acts on patterns. And patterns are everywhere. Imagine you are speaking with someone who prides herself on composure, a woman who wants to seem unaffected. Her words are sharp, measured, controlled, but then you introduce the slightest shift, a challenge, a slow pause, a quiet question she did not expect. Suddenly, her mask stiffens, her breath changes. Her eyes falter for half a second. That single disruption tells you more than any confession ever could. People reveal desire when they lose rhythm. In political intrigues of the past, this moment of lost rhythm was the moment of opportunity. A diplomat, watching a rival stumble over a question, knew the negotiation had already begun tilting in his favor. He didn't need to overpower the man. He only needed to observe the weakness and let it guide his next move. The same applies to human connection. When someone's composure bends around you, even subtly, you are witnessing a break in their emotional armor. No one bends for someone they do not feel. But be careful. You are not looking for fantasies. You are looking for inconsistencies. The woman who challenges you more than she challenges others. The woman who listens more closely than she admits. The woman who remembers details you barely recall saying. These are not accidents. They are strategic reveals, intentional or unconscious, meant to test your awareness. Ask yourself, how many times have you ignored these signals because you feared misreading them? The truth is, misreading comes not from seeing too much, but from observing too little. Those who train their attention begin to notice micro-expressions, shifts in tone, the subtle dilation of the pupils that appears when curiosity becomes attraction. Think of ancient generals reading the smoke on the horizon. A faint change in color revealed whether the enemy was burning crops or signaling troops. One detail, barely seen, shifted entire campaigns. In human psychology, the details are no different. A single hesitation can reveal inner conflict. A single smile held half a second too long can reveal inner interest. So what should you do when you sense these fractures? You do not lunge. You do not demand clarity. You hold steady, because pressure shatters illusions and reveals intentions. When you remain centered, people expose more. They speak more freely. They test you further. They offer hints in the form of small risks, a more personal question, a softer laugh, a vulnerability disguised as a joke. Every risk taken in your direction is a signal. Every signal is data. And data, when read correctly, becomes insight. Your task is not to chase desire, but to interpret it. Because once you learn to see these patterns, you can no longer return to blindness. You begin to understand who is drawn to your presence, who is unsettled by it, and who is quietly trying to hide their fascination behind a veil of indifference. And when you master this, something unexpected happens. You stop fearing the unknown. You stop waiting for validation. You start guiding the interaction instead of reacting to it. But this is only the beginning. The next keynote reveals the moment when subtle interest transforms into undeniable pursuit, and why most people miss it entirely. Prepare yourself for what comes next. Now, in the end, influence is never loud. It is not the forceful command, but the subtle tilt of another's emotions toward your will. Control is achieved not by domination, but by shaping perception quietly, invisibly, inevitably. You have now seen how structure, scarcity, asymmetry, and self-sufficiency bend desire, without a single word of force. These principles are older than kingdoms and sharper than any blade. Use them, and people will follow you without realizing they have surrendered their direction. Fail to use them, and you will follow others while believing you chose the path yourself. Ask yourself, who have you allowed to control your emotions, and who, from this point forward, will fall under the gravity of yours? If this exploration sharpened your mind, let it be known. Comment your thoughts below. Your insight strengthens the community. Subscribe for more strategic lessons drawn from the darker truths of psychology and power. And share this video with someone who still chases blindly instead of leading with intent. Until the next lesson, stay disciplined, stay unreadable, stay in control.